Welcome, my name is Leo and we are here to discuss about how to approach the reading task for IELTS. Whether you're going for a general IELTS or academic IELTS, you need to understand that reading is not actually hard to do, but it is a very time consuming task, and time management is what is going to define whether you get a 7 band or an 8 band or a 9 band, or if you're not able to manage the time properly, you might sink down to 3 or 4 band. So let's see how we're supposed to approach it. Now there are several topics that you have to learn as to how the questions are going to come and how you would be answering them. But right now we're going to only talk about the general tips as to how generally you are supposed to approach the reading, and later on we'll get more in detail about each and every of those topics. The first thing you need to do is, obviously you cannot read slowly. Like I said, it's a very time consuming process and you need to manage your time aptly, and so you need to skim or scan the passages. You cannot go in detail for each and every passage. You need to skim to get the main area. You need to scan to get the detail right. I'll go more in detail about this once we talk about the other topics that come in reading. But right now you have to understand that you cannot read slowly and you don't have to rely on getting the meaning of each and every word. If you do not understand a particular word, it is okay. You can move on to the next one. You don't have to understand every word to understand the meaning of the passage. And even the approach, even the order to which you are supposed to approach a passage would define how quickly and correctly you get your answers. You need to understand to approach the passage by reading the topic first, the name of the topic first, so that you would get an idea as to what you're going to read about. Then by reading the questions before reading the passage, it will be able to enable you to set a target for what you're searching for. So you're not going to read the entire passage most of the time. You're going to only be looking for the answers directly. So you can do that using the skimming or scanning techniques. So like I said, now that you know the name of the topic, you know what you're supposed to expect from the passage. And then when you read the questions, you know what your targets are. So using the skimming technique, you would try and get to the location where the targets are. And then when you get to the correct location in the passage, then you'll try and scan it to get the detail right. So you don't have to read the entire passage. You just need to skim over to the location where you might find the possible answer and then start scanning the passage to get the detail right. That's the simplest way you can manage your time properly. Obviously, you cannot spend much time on your answers and you are supposed to spend as less time on your earlier sections than the latter ones, because obviously the first earlier sections are supposed to be easier to answer compared to the last one. And as you must have observed, most of this slide talks about time management. It is that important. Getting an answer right, if you are given no limit to time, is very easy. Most of my students would obviously be able to do that, but to get the same answer within the stipulated time is where your band is decided. So if you are supposed to get 9 band because you're getting the answers right, but because you're not able to get them right in time, you might be losing it and you might be just getting it with 3 or 4 band. So that is why time management is very, very important in reading. After the time management, what you need to also understand is that you're not given an extra 10 minutes as you would be in the listening session, but for reading within the same 60 minutes you're supposed to both read the passage, read the questions, get the answer to the questions, and then also transfer the answers to the answer sheet. You would not be given extra time, so you need to remember that. And you need to concentrate on the instructions. This is universally true whether you're going to write whether you're going to attempt for listening or reading or writing or speaking, it is always universally true that you need to always concentrate on the instructions. People do not sometimes read them, and in a hurry they just try to move on to the questions directly, and they miss a lot on it. For example, if they're asking you for 3 words or less, the tomb of the pharaoh, even though it is appearing as such in the question paper, is not the correct answer. You need to change those words, and you need to present the pharaoh's tomb or anything as such to get the answer right. So getting the answer right technically is not the only reason for you, or the only way you can score a point. You would lose it even if you get the answer right if you do not follow the instructions. So it is very important for you to follow the instructions and the spellings. Surprisingly, some of my students, just because they are in a hurry, they get the right answer, they also follow the instructions, but when they are transferring the answers to the answer sheet, and because they did not give enough time to transfer, they miss on spelling. So they misspell it onto the answer sheet, and that's how they lose points. So please be very wary of them. And when you're transferring the answers to your answer sheet, please concentrate on the grammar of the actual question, not the passage. In the passage, it might be just a singular word like castle, but in the question, writing the word in its singular form might not make sense because the grammar is not right there. So you might have to change that to castles, and that is very important. And this would only be possible if you are able to read the question first and then go ahead with the skimming and skipping text. And then again, reading the instructions properly doesn't just limit you to reading the instructions in the question. It also has to be with how you are expected to present your answers. For example, several times I've seen this. They'll ask you to write true, false, or not given, but you will write yes, no, or not given. Now you might be getting the answer right, but instead of writing true, you might have written yes. So you might be losing points on that. Or sometimes what they would do is they will say write M for main room, write CR for classroom, or write L for library. Sometimes students don't read the instructions properly, and they might actually write library, or they might write classroom instead of writing the abbreviations. So this is just giving the chance for whoever is going to mark you on these answers an opportunity for them to either go for yes or no. So they can give you the point, or they can decline you the point. So instead of missing such ridiculously, it is better if you concentrate on the instructions and get your answers right, and also present them right. That wraps up the general tips that you would ever have to remember about reading. Now the next video we'll be talking more in particular. The first topic that we would be discussing about is how to answer the multiple choice questions that come in the reading of IELTS. Thank you once again. See you in the next video.